So as Tony introduced, my name is Janine Rashidi, and I am the owner and founder of Good by Tension, helping you relieve your physical, mental, emotional, and digestive tension, helping you come to a sense of integration with yourself. My mission is to educate you and empower you to create a sense of independence, not dependence, with your health and wellness needs. After 17 plus years of being in practice, the conversation I continue to have is the one about the relationship that you have with yourself. So this lines up beautifully, thank you. And how your ability to digest physically, mentally, and emotionally determines the state of that relationship that you have. For example, when you ingest food, if that digestive fire is nice and strong, if you took the yoga class, we did some of the fire breathing. If that transformation process is happening, then that food that you're ingesting will transform into nutrients. And if all other systems are working, those nutrients will be received by those systems, and what is not needed will be discarded to our waste. Now, the same principle applies with our mind. We perceive through the five senses. And what we are perceiving is the same as the food that we are eating, because we are ingesting through our senses. And depending on how strong your digestive mental fire is, determines the strength of your ability to perceive what you are ingesting. For example, let's say that you and a friend go out on a walk, it's late at night, and you both see something on the path in front of you. Now, one of you perceives it as a snake. The other perceives it as a stick. Why? The one who has had more fear and trauma that has not been digested or transformed is perceiving it as a snake. While the other, whose digestive mental fire is a little bit stronger, has considered all the possibilities and using logic, has determined that it is a stick. They have not allowed the emotion of fear to creep in. And that is where emotional digestion comes into play. Now, we all have our stories. There are experiences of sorrow and joy and abundance and loss, trauma, abuse, and love. And depending on how you've related with those experiences determines your emotional digestion. Okay, so I have to share with you that what I have experienced in my practice is more of emotional numbing. And I've had that experience myself, which is no different than leaving a plate of food out on the counter and pretending it's not there. Eventually, that plate of food is going to grow mold, it's going to smell, and it's going to become toxic. So what happens when what you are ingesting physically, mentally, and emotionally is not able to digest or transform? It creates an imbalance in the body-mind system. It creates dis-ease. Now, from a gut level, this could look like constipation, lack of hunger, sluggishness, gas, physical pain, weight gain, weight loss, and more. And from a mind perspective, this could be a busy or distracted mind. This could be negative thoughts. This could also be an inability to learn or retain information. This could also create physical pain, weight gain, weight loss, and more. And from an emotional level, this could show up as feelings of numbness, suppression of feelings, extreme responses to people or situations, fear, anxiety, depression, physical pain, weight loss, weight gain, and more. So it's important to acknowledge that all of these work together, gut, mind, and heart/emotions. If the gut is not able to transform the ingredients that you are trying to transform, then all of your other systems will not work properly, which means the mind is not going to get the nourishment that it needs, the heart, and so on. And if the imbalance begins in the mind or the heart, your emotions, then it will also create an imbalance in your digestive system. For example, if you're in an anxious state, it cuts off the blood flow to your digestive tract. You cannot digest when you're in anxiety. So where are you on this journey of health and wellness? Oftentimes people ask me, how long will it take to come into balance? So the analogy that I like to use is, let's say that you've gone out on vacation, and the sole purpose of this vacation is that you want to capture all of the beauty with your camera or smartphone. So here you are, you're driving along, you've gone 30 miles out, and you've realized, oh no, I don't have my camera and I don't have my smartphone. So what do you have to do? You have to slow down your vehicle so that you can turn around, head back home to get your camera or smartphone so that you have the tools you need on this journey. The vehicle here represents you. The camera or smartphone represents your health. And depending on how well you've maintained your health, your vehicle, and how far you've traveled away from that camera or smartphone determines the journey ahead. So where do you begin? You begin from where you're at. If you've traveled 30 miles out, then that's where you're at. If you've traveled 100 miles out, that is where you're at, and that is where you begin from. And I assure you, there is a plan that addresses your specific body, mind, nature. And we can work on that in our one-on-one sessions, either online or in office. Now, while I have the certifications and education, which is important, we know that experience is the highest form of knowledge. So I thought I'd share with you my experience. So my goal for the year of 2019 was to put my scale away for the entire year. And even if I went to the doctors, I asked them to please withhold the information. I wanted to find out what my body would do naturally without obsessing over what did that scale say each week. What did we do before we had scales, right? So as I was on this journey, what I discovered was that my body has 3 phases, and it usually lined up with my cycle. So my fuller days, I called my full moon days. Notice how nobody says, oh my God, that full moon looks so fat. We're usually in awe of its beauty, its luster, and its vibrancy. So I learned how to love the fullness when it came. I learned to love the next phase, which was usually around ovulation, my half moon days. And I learned to love everything in between, which was my new moon days. And in this way, I was connecting with nature. Now, many of you may not be able to tell, but I've had quite a journey with this mind-body system. In 2003, the pendulum swung all the way to a size 20, 240 pounds with hypertension, high cholesterol, and borderline diabetes. And I had no energy to even walk around the bases for my children who were playing baseball. 4 years later, the pendulum swung all the way to a size 4, 147 pounds, which is what the medical chart said I should weigh. I had adrenal fatigue, severe migraines, irregular and very painful periods. Now, I had a similar pendulum swing of about 30 pounds as a young teen. And both of these were a result of severe trauma, which included anxiety, depression, and severe PTSD. So I had to relearn what it meant to be healthy. The extremes I had taken my body through had taken me to a level of depletion on every single level. And I was not including my mental and emotional health, which is so important. So in order for me to stay balanced, I have to listen, I have to observe, I have to honor my body, mind, nature, and I have to notice the signals that it gives me when I'm going slightly out of balance. And that's what we all need to learn, is how not to go so far out of balance. And we live in such an out of balanced world. I'm trying to find quote unquote balance in a body mind that's not perfect. It never will be. I'm dynamic, you're dynamic, we all are. So I have to honor that. I have to love myself and nourish myself first. Healthy relationships, they begin with you. When you are healthy, you naturally will create healthier relationships, which means you'll go into your family unit, and those relationships will become healthy. The family will go out into society, society will become healthy, and eventually out into the world, and our world will become healthy. But I think we can all relate with the fact that what's going on right now with our planet, with our leadership between countries, is all due to an inability to relate. So here's to 2020, a new decade. How will you get to know yourself better? How will you become a better version of yourself? And if you don't love yourself first, how can you love others? Now, if you were fortunate enough to take the yoga class, we were acting like monkeys earlier, which I loved. So now I'm going to ask that you all become lionesses, okay? And I want to hear you roar. So if you are ready to begin a relationship with yourself, or at least dating yourself, then I challenge you to stand up and say, I am ready. And maybe the other lionesses around you will be encouraged to stand up also. So
I am ready.
You are ready.
I am ready.